Former Prince Andrew is arrested over Epstein allegations. Trump gives Iran a new deadline as U.S. forces amass in the region. And more Democrats plan to skip Trump's State of the Union. I'm Daily Wire Executive Editor John Bickley with Georgia Howe. It's Thursday, February 19th. This is Evening Wire.
Former Prince Andrew was arrested today in connection with his ties to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Daily Wire reporter Lyndon Blake has the details.
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who turned 66 on the day of his arrest, was taken into custody Thursday on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Police say they were conducting searches at his home in Berkshire and Norfolk. And according to the BBC, law enforcement said, quote, it was assessing a complaint over the alleged sharing of confidential material with Epstein. This confidential material reportedly included trade documents, with one email appearing to forward Epstein official trade reports for Hong Kong, Singapore, and Vietnam. The disgraced former prince was stripped of his royal titles back in October of last year, following revelations about his ties to Epstein. If convicted, he could face life in prison.
President Trump hosted the inaugural meeting of the Board of Peace today, where he signaled a stark deadline for Iran. Daily Wire senior editor Cabot Phillips reports.
President Trump spoke on the ongoing tensions in the Middle East, saying that peace in the Middle East won't exist as long as Iran has a nuclear weapon. He then said they need to make a deal and that, quote, bad things will happen if they don't. Here he is laying out a timeline.
Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
The president also covered the success of the initiative to raise nearly $7 billion. He touted the end of 8 international conflicts so far, and also the reconstruction efforts already underway in Gaza. He went on to highlight leaders present in the room who have recently helped end conflicts between their countries, mentioning Armenia and Azerbaijan, as well as Pakistan and India. The meeting concluded with Trump gaveling out the Board of Peace for the first time in the institution's history.
Ready? Thank you, everybody.
In a major shift in European foreign policy, the EU has formally recognized the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organization. This means that effective tomorrow, all funds, financial assets, and economic resources connected to the group within EU member states will be frozen. Individuals and companies that do business in the EU will also be barred from making any resources available to the terror organization. The designation brings the EU in line with the US, Canada, Israel, and several Gulf nations.
The U.S. is withdrawing all remaining troops from Syria. Daily Wire reporter Tim Pierce has more.
Following a decade-long presence to combat the Islamic State, the final 1,000 troops remaining in Syria will be withdrawn over the next 2 months. A senior administration official clarified that the U.S. would still be able to respond to a resurgence of the Islamic State in the region, but that a standing presence of U.S. troops is no longer necessary. The Trump administration instead plans to foster strengthened diplomatic relations with newly situated Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa, who will now take on an increased role in ensuring security in the region.
A judge declared a mistrial in the federal case against alleged Antifa terrorists who ambushed federal immigration agents in Alvarado, Texas last year. Daily Wire immigration reporter Jenny Tair has the story.
During jury selection on Tuesday, a U.S. attorney raised concerns about defense attorney Marquetta Clayton, who was wearing a T-shirt under her blazer plastered with civil rights figures. Judge Mark Pittman declared a mistrial before the jury was seated. The judge told Clayton, quote, I don't know why in the world you would think that's appropriate. Pittman, who said he admired the civil rights figures, likened the shirt to a prosecutor sporting an ice pin or a shirt with Donald Trump riding an eagle and waving an ICE flag. The judge went on to say politics, as prevalent as they are, as divided as they are, don't have any business here.
As President Trump prepares to deliver his State of the Union address next Tuesday, some congressional Democrats are planning to protest or skip the speech altogether. Daily Wire congressional reporter Brecca Stoll has the details.
Midas Touch Network and Move On, 2 high-profile liberal organizations, are hosting the People's State of the Union on the National Mall as counter-programming to Trump's address. Hosted by leftist commentators Joy Reid and Katie Fain, the event will feature several Democratic lawmakers, including Senators Ed Markey, Tina Smith, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, and Representative Pramila Jayapal. So far, a total of at least 12 Democratic lawmakers have publicly said they will not attend Trump's address.
This episode is sponsored by Brickhouse Nutrition. You've probably heard about those weight loss injections that everyone's been talking about, and for good reason. The results can be pretty incredible. They work by helping regulate blood sugar and keeping your appetite in check. But here's the thing. Not everyone wants to deal with weekly injections, especially when you start hearing about some of the side effects that can come with them. That's where Lean comes in. It's a weight loss supplement developed by doctors, and people are seeing some really impressive results. The ingredients in Lean are backed by research showing that they can help lower blood sugar, turn stored fat into energy, and reduce those constant cravings that make dieting so hard. This stuff is no joke. I am one of those people that eats sometimes a lot when I'm stressed. But once Lean came into the picture, I was able to rein in my cravings. Let's get you started with 20% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Visit takelean.com and enter WIRE for your discount. That's promo code WIRE at takelean.com today.
The Potomac River has become a literal sewage depot following a massive spill of wastewater. Daily Wire political reporter Cameron Arcand reports.
Although raw sewage has not been actively flowing into the Potomac River since Super Bowl Sunday, there is still a long way to go in terms of cleaning up the situation. The spill that started in mid-January with a broken pipe in Maryland has become the subject of regional and national concern, especially with higher levels of E. coli in the river water. Officials have emphasized that the drinking water is still safe, but are telling people not to take part in any, quote, unnecessary activities in the river. Here's what EPA Assistant Administrator for the Office of Water, Jess Kramer, had to say.
There is currently no impact to drinking water, and so I think as much as we can say that is extremely important to reassure folks. The federal government right now is helping to ensure coordination across all of the entities involved, the federal partners, the states, as well as the local governments.
Earlier on Thursday, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser declared a state of emergency and hopes to get federal help for the situation, including 100% reimbursement for costs incurred for the crisis. This came after President Donald Trump asked leaders in the surrounding area to quickly step in or request help.
With skyrocketing demand for new data centers, Micron, America's largest memory chip manufacturer, is investing $200 billion in new production. Daily Wire senior editor Joel Needler reports.
Micron stock has increased more than sixfold in the past 3 years, but they haven't been able to keep up with the demand for memory chips, as companies like OpenAI, xAI, and Oracle spend billions on new data centers. Now, Micron is pledging to up their manufacturing capacity dramatically with new fabrication centers near Boise, Idaho, as well as Syracuse, New York. In Boise alone, the company has planned two 600,000 square foot manufacturing plants, each about the size of 10 football fields. Consumers have seen prices for memory chips rapidly increase, more than 500% in some cases, as manufacturers struggle to meet demand. Micron hopes to have their new facilities operational sometime next year.
A major U.S. arms deal with Taiwan has been put on hold after discussions with China. During a phone call with Trump earlier this month, Chinese President Xi Jinping complained about the proposed sale, as Beijing continues to claim Taiwan as part of its territory. Now, the U.S. has opted to pause the deal pending further negotiations ahead of a planned summit in Beijing this April. The summit is expected to address trade, nuclear proliferation, and Taiwan. Taiwan is a global leader in manufacturing advanced technology critical to AI and defense systems.
Speaking of AI and national defense, a massive AI deal with the Pentagon could be up for grabs. Daily Wire reporter Zach Jewell explains.
AI company Anthropic, which makes the only large language model that can be used in classified settings, landed a military contract worth up to $200 million last summer. But now that high-dollar contract is at risk. Anthropic says it doesn't want its AI tools used for domestic surveillance and autonomous lethal activities, even when performed lawfully. That's opening the door for rival AI companies OpenAI, Google, and xAI, which have all said their models could be used for any lawful use cases. Emil Michael, the Undersecretary of War for Research and Engineering, said this week, quote, "We have to be able to use any model for all lawful use cases. If any one company doesn't want to accommodate that, that's a problem for us."
And Goldman Sachs is dropping its DEI requirements for board members. The Wall Street Journal reports that the influential firm will no longer consider race, gender identity, sexual orientation, or other diversity factors when evaluating board candidates. Last year, Goldman Sachs also eliminated similar DEI considerations for companies it was considering taking public. The decision follows petitions from conservative nonprofit National Legal and Policy Center, which owns a small stake in the bank.
All right, those are your drive home updates. To learn more about these stories, go to dailywire.com. And in case you missed it earlier today, we covered some major stories, including the Trump administration gearing up for a substantial response to Iran, Washington state spending millions on gender surgeries for inmates, and the FDA reversing its decision to not review Moderna's new flu vaccine. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another full edition of Morning Wire.